I think one of the biggest problems that the fashion industry is facing is the fact that it's accelerated beyond its own control. So production is getting larger and larger, and the pressure on creating something that is new, creating the next trend, the next big thing is way too high.
You know, for me it's very important to stimulate crossing and crossover projects, because I think we are faced with a lot of new societal challenges and societal problems that cannot be solved within one discipline alone anymore.
My role in TUE here is find research projects, but especially find the people for those research projects that can truly make a change, that can work together and want to make this change reality.
The interesting thing about the fashion industry is the way that they relate to culture and the way to relate to trends that are happening. On one side we have fashion that tries to design things which represent some values, and on the other side we have people that try to develop materials that are expressive, that behave in specific ways. The challenge will be how to combine these together.
We're in a very interesting moment of synchronicity, of bringing different things together.
Interdisciplinary work is the basis of what I do. I wouldn't be able to create the things that I create without such collaboration.
The importance of this project is that we can show, as a University of Technology, what technology could mean for society. That they get an impression of, is this also technology when it is combined with fashion?
It's more like trying to create these expert-to-expert relations.
Fashion is one of the last industries to be disrupted and to be changed by the technological revolution. We started off with 3D body scanning, and we did a 3D body scan not only of the whole body of the minister but also of her feet. We then scanned her feet in a walking position and in a resting position, and from there we actually had to go back and do a second scan of the bottom of her feet in order to figure out exactly where her foot goes when she walks, which is known as the progression line. And we also took a look at the size of her feet so we could create a shoe that's perfectly molded to her foot.
How does that feel?
Stand up and put your weight down, yeah, that's what magic happens.
Nice feeling.
Yeah, it's quite soft, huh?
This is what we talk about when we talk about programming materials. What we can do is we can change the internal structures of, say, these two insoles. We can do things like lines and squares, but it's changing these around and making these ever so slightly different that creates something that works in a really interesting manner. We program these materials to be in specific places.
We wanted to explore creating a shoe that has both strength, so it supports your body and we can create a heel with it. But at the same time we wanted to create some surfaces that would be a little bit dynamic, that would maybe change according to the rhythm of your walking. Which is why we started out with creating all these kind of lines. Yeah, so you can imagine if this would be a square piece of fabric, and I would hold it above here and I would kind of fold it around. And the square piece, of course, would never fit because this is not a square shape. But so we have the square piece of fabric interact with the shape of your foot.
This is the line, or not?
No. This is one line
it's
that
this
we.
line. It's this line.
Yeah, exactly.
You see
So
how
that's
it
that progression
starts.
line.
Yeah.
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 And we're definitely starting to get an idea of what the final shoe is going to look like. Unfortunately, the colored area that was supposed to be white on the inside, not quite what we wanted it to be yet, but this is part of the process. You know, we had some experiments go wrong.
Do you think it's, I can stand on it?
It's not as strong as I wanted it to be.
No.
That's why we're reprinting the new one right now.
Okay.
The next one will be stronger. We thought that this shoe was going to be the perfect shoe to do the new printing style, which is printing it laying down. It turns out that this is not the best idea for that shoe, but we could only realize that through experimentation.
That's, therefore you also learn by this experience.
Oh yeah, this has been a great big learning experience. This has taken every trick that I know, and I've invented a few new ones.
It's not a linear process. It's not like I come up with a design, I sketch it out, I choose a fabric and we start making it. It's way more iterative and unpredictable. We did a lot of testing, made all these small samples that were screen printed, created decisions based on all these samples, and then the moment you go to the screen printing place to make the final design, it turns out totally different. So then you constantly have to react and look at the material, analyze why it's doing what it does, and redesign basically based on your results. That makes it less adherent, and it could also be because it's so smooth, so shiny that the ink just doesn't want to stay. Yeah. It doesn't attach. Yeah. So every time for us it's also a surprise, how is it going to react? Yeah. What we did, for instance, we used this same print like you see here, and we started changing the direction of the fabric. So instead of putting our prints like this, we put it like this. And this is what happens.
Yeah, totally different.
Totally different expression. Yeah. So there's a lot of fabric right now, but the idea is that because of our prints, the fabric is going to pull together in different places. So it's not going to be a square piece of fabric anymore. It's going to be modeled to your body.
So therefore I kind of programmed all the lines, and now we will see on the computer you can, for example, adjust the width of the neckline. The length.
This is basically a very modular piece.
Yeah.
So for the last 2 weeks I've been working on the script for the line pattern, and it's made in a program called Grasshopper, which is mainly used in architecture, but it allows you to create scripts that are dynamic, generative, so you can very easily make adjustments to a pattern or to a structure.
So this is what Leonie, maybe zoom out all the way. Yeah, here it is.
Is it difficult to make such a program?
You have to show okay, this is what Leonie's made in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
This is her piece of art.
It's
incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of a script, but it's all with boxes, so every box contains information or
a rule.
Yeah, like a mathematical formula almost.
So for instance, the neckline cannot be as narrow that your head is not going to fit through, for instance. Yeah. So I think in this case we can go quite narrow. So this is the design of the print that the minister actually worked on the computer. We transferred it to the screen that we're using. This is going to be her neckline basically. So the minister decided how wide she wanted to be, how deep the neckline should be. The other two diamonds that you see here are the armholes. It's where our arms are going to come through. And we've played with the density of the lines, the thickness of the lines. You can see that here it's in our waist area, the lines are quite thick, and they're moving to more narrow here. So that's where we're going to have a lot of movement in the fabric. But basically with this whole surface now, which is started out as a very straight rectangular piece, after we put it into the tunnel, after we have the ink puffing up, we will see that the shape is going to be changing completely. There we are.
Wow.
The idea of working also with light and something that refracts the light. If the sun starts shining on it, you can imagine that the optical effect is very appealing.
I hope people will like it, but I really hope that people are curious, because one of the things I want to stimulate also as a Minister of Education and Culture is curiosity. And I think my dress will be very special because it's a combination of new techniques, old craftsmanship, and the working of new materials.
De Graaf moeten we vandaag bij minister Bussemaker niet letten op het hoedje dat ze draagt op Prinsjesdag, maar op haar schoenen. Die zijn namelijk gemaakt door studenten van de Technische Universiteit Eindhoven met, en dat is een primeur, een 3D-printer.
De derde dinsdag in september, die lijkt in Den Haag een soort openlucht modeshow.
Haar ontworpen door modestudenten van de Technische Universiteit Eindhoven. De opdracht kwam 2 maanden geleden.
2 maanden aan een complete look, met hoed, met jurk, met schoenen. Zo uit de printer en de computer. En ze zit hier in de studio, dames. Goedenavond.
Goedenavond.
Modeontwerpster, industrieel ontwerpster. Een geweldige dag natuurlijk. Hè? Naast jullie zitten
This afternoon and this evening. You know, I think we will get some compliments, but also some criticisms. That belongs to Prinsjesdag. And I think if there is no debate and no discussion, we will not improve our knowledge and our creativity.